On the night of the 11th of June 1962, 3 hardened convicts broke out of the maximum security prison on Alcatraz Island and escaped in a boat they had made from stolen raincoats. Officially, they were never seen or heard from again. However, many people, including the families of the 3 escapees, believe that they did get away that night and have lived for decades. We will delve deep into the topic with the proper details and reports, but before that, this is Detective Dossier here. We post videos about famous and infamous mysteries that are solved or unsolved. Now onto the topic. Their leader was a seasoned criminal. Frank had been abandoned by his parents at the age of 11. By the age of 13, he was already convicted of his first crime. Throughout his teens, he was arrested and charged on multiple occasions for armed robbery and drugs offenses. At this time, Frank was serving a 10-year sentence for a bank robbery at the time of the escape. Frank's accomplices were the Anglin brothers, John and Clarence, and Alan West. The Anglins came from a large family of seasonal agricultural workers who traveled up and down the country picking fruit and vegetables. Dirt poor, the 2 brothers turned to crime at an early age, first being caught for breaking into a service station at 14 years of age. They robbed banks and other stuff. After their first illegal attempts, they were both sentenced to 35 years after being found guilty of robbing the Columbia Savings Bank in Columbia, Alabama. After repetitive attempts to escape from Atlanta Penitentiary, these 2 had been transferred to Alcatraz in the year 1960. Alan West was the last member to join this crew. A repeat offender, West faced over 20 arrests before landing in prison for car theft in 1955. Transferred from Atlanta Penitentiary to Florida State Prison, an unsuccessful escape attempt led him to Alcatraz in 1957. By the time they all ended up in Alcatraz, the 4 men were acquainted, having served time together in previous prisons. Placed in adjacent cells to facilitate nightly communication, they, led by Frank Morris, devised a plan to escape. Their scheme involved tunneling through cell walls, constructing a raft, and fleeing the island by sea. Collecting broken saw blades from prison workshops and metal spoons from the dining hall, they fashioned a drill using a vacuum cleaner motor. The improved tools allowed them to widen holes around ventilation ducts under their sinks, concealing their work with painted strips of cardboard to elude guards. To mask the drilling noise when breaking into the unguarded utility corridor, Morris played his accordion during the daily music hour, a method to calm prisoners. Once able to fit through the holes, the men established a makeshift workshop on the empty top level of their cell block. Here, they crafted the raft and life jackets using stolen and donated raincoats, skillfully stitched together and sealed by melting rubber on hot pipes in their workshop. In covering up their absence while in the workshop, an ingenious approach was taken by the men. Papier-mâché versions of their heads were crafted from soap, dust, toilet paper, and toothpaste. These heads, made to look realistic with paint from the maintenance workshop and real human hair collected from the floor of the prison barbershop, were placed on the prisoners' pillows. Clothes and towels were then stuffed under their blankets to mimic the shape of their bodies. This arrangement created the illusion, visible to any passing guard, that they were sound asleep in their beds. On the top level, a 6-14-foot rubber raft and paddles were being constructed from scraps of wood and stolen screws, all discreetly accomplished while evading passive surveillance. On the night of June 11, 1962, the raft was prepared, marking the initiation of the plan. West's hopes of escape were thwarted when he discovered the cement he used to reinforce the concrete had solidified, hindering him from passing through the hole. After widening the hole, he found his accomplices gone and returned to bed. Simultaneously, Frank and the Anglin brothers ascended a ventilation shaft to the prison roof. A potential setback occurred when they made a loud noise breaking free, but fortunately, the guards who heard it chose not to investigate. Seizing the opportunity, the trio descended 50 feet using kitchen pipes, traversed two 12-foot barbed wire fences, and reached a northeast shore hidden from searchlights. Using a modified concertina stolen from an inmate, they inflated the raft. At around 10 o'clock, they pushed off and set course toward nearby Angel Island. Officially, or at least as per records, they were never sighted again. The alarm was not raised until the next morning, when attempts to wake the three prisoners failed, leading guards to discover the dummy heads in their cells. A massive search operation involving civilian law enforcement and the military ensued, covering land, air, and sea around Alcatraz Island and beyond for the next 10 days. The Coast Guard reported discovering one of the prisoners' paddles on June 14th off the south coast of Angel Island. And on the same day, workers found a wallet containing details of the Anglins. 6 days later, shredded rubber believed to be from the prisoners' raft washed up near the Golden Gate Bridge. The following day, a deflated life jacket was retrieved by a prison boat floating 50 yards from Alcatraz Island. These scattered remnants constituted all that was ever found of the men and the tools used in their escape. Despite the absence of bodies, the FBI swiftly concluded that the three prisoners had drowned. From the initial year of their escape up to the present day, skepticism persists about the FBI's declaration of the men's death. Since Christmas 1962, members of the Anglin family asserted receiving cards and postcards from the brothers. The two men's mother reportedly received flowers anonymously every year until her death in 1973, and at her funeral, two unusually tall men in heavy makeup were believed by family members to be John and Clarence Anglin in disguise. In 1989, Robert Anglin, one of the Anglin's brothers, asserted that two men visited to view their deceased father's body. They stayed briefly, weeping over the body, and then departed. In the same year, two women contacted Unsolved Mysteries, claiming to have seen Clarence Anglin and Frank Morris on a farm near Marianna, Florida. However, no subsequent trace of them could be found. Numerous individuals not connected to the Anglin family have emerged over the years, asserting sightings or contact with the three escapees. A day after the men's disappearance, a local San Francisco police officer reported seeing a boat near Alcatraz Island, which turned around and headed under the Golden Gate Bridge after a few minutes. The FBI investigated the claim and dismissed it. In 1962, Bud White, claiming to be Frank Morris's cousin, came forward, stating he had been hired by Frank to bribe some Alcatraz guards. He alleged meeting Frank in a San Diego park several days after the escape. Bud's daughter corroborated this account, but no evidence could be found to support it. In 1993, new supposed evidence surfaced. Former Alcatraz inmate Thomas Kent informed America's Most Wanted that he had helped plan the escape, but declined to join the prisoners due to his inability to swim. He also claimed Anglin's girlfriend picked up the men and drove them to Mexico. Kent's story faced skepticism, given he was paid by the TV network for his confession. In the same year, another man named John Leroy Kelly claimed he had picked the prisoners up in a boat and then murdered them so he could keep the $40,000 that had been collected by their families that he was supposed to pass on to them. Kelly confessed all this on his deathbed and even provided a location where the bodies of the three men were supposed to be buried. A subsequent search unearthed no remains. In 2015, History interviewed members of the Anglin family regarding the escape. Alongside showcasing cards purportedly sent by the brothers, they revealed Fred Brizzi's account. Brizzi, a childhood friend of the brothers, claimed to have seen them in Brazil in 1975. Although photographs were presented purportedly of the Anglin brothers, their identification proved challenging due to sunglasses and the photo's poor condition. In 2018, the FBI acknowledged receiving a letter allegedly written by John Anglin. In the letter, Anglin asserted that both Morris and his brother Clarence were deceased. The remaining prisoner expressed a willingness to surrender in exchange for medical treatment. The letter's authenticity could not be confirmed, and the writer never contacted the FBI again. Was this the final communication from the last surviving member of the 1962 escapees? The FBI officially closed the case in 1979. In contrast, the U.S. Marshal Service intends to keep the case open until 2030, when all the men would be over 100 years old. So, did Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers successfully escape from one of the world's most notorious prisons, living for decades as wanted fugitives? The answer remains uncertain and may never be definitively known. Comment down your thoughts and theories below. And if you are new here, kindly subscribe and hit the bell icon for notifications. Would mean a lot. Detective Dossier signing off, and he will see you soon. Thank you.